Yo,
There you go.
what's going on?
All
All
good,
things,
man.
all things athletics. Happy to be joined by two-time European 400-meter champ Martyn Rooney. What's going on, bro?
I'm good, boss. I'm good. You?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Just lockdown is the way it is.
It's it's
How's it been for
it's
you?
it's it's not too bad for me, to be honest. Like I've kind of had a lot of time with my family, my
That's
kids,
nice. Yeah,
kind of thing that you kind of don't get that often when you're an athlete. I think so. I've
that's
enjoyed
it.
it.
That's it. So yeah, first things first. What I want to ask is that did you do the was you started doing the 800 and the 1500 before you started focusing on the 400?
Yeah, as a kid, I came through like cross country, uh, around like the 1500, around the 800. But I also did like long jump, pole vault.
Bloody hell.
I did the 4x1, whatever I was asked to do for my club. I was just like, Croydon Harriers, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And
Okay.
yeah, it was just kind of like I was always quick, but for some reason I was attracted to the longer stuff. So yeah, I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
there.
yeah. So like, in the 2008 Olympics, that's the first Olympics I remember. I know that you did a 40, was it a 43.7 split in the
Mm.
in the final, yeah. That's quite I didn't know that was the second fastest ever for Britain. I didn't know that at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was solid. It was yeah, it's like it was a good games to me. Like I made the final in the individual, and then we got upgraded in our from a fourth to a third. So it was yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice to come away with obviously a bit late, but it was nice to get a medal in the end.
Hmm. And you're originally from Croydon, that's right. I see
Yeah, yeah,
you're a
yeah.
Palace fan.
I'm a Palace fan for my sins. Yeah, like
Oh God.
it's it's not fun at times, but
Nah.
you know I'll take mid-table mediocrity and be
Yeah.
happy as long as we score some decent goals, play some good games. I'm like, okay, cool. I know we're not gonna ever like we're not
Yeah,
got the money of a Villa or a Man City or whatever. You know those big clubs with big money. So
I'm a big Liverpool fan, so I'm happy. Right?
yeah, you're doing all right. I
apart from the
saw
in, apart from the injuries right now, but
yeah, I saw
yeah.
Virgil van Dijk when we were in Dubai. He's a big guy. He's about
Oh,
my height.
yeah,
Um,
you're what 6'5", 6'6", that kind of.
6'5". Yeah, he's a big
Yeah,
boy. Like I think he's a lot more athletic than I thought he'd be. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
yeah.
don't know. With footballers, I've seen I'd seen a couple of like the Villa boys up close,
Mm,
and a couple of Palace guys, and it was like I don't know. Virgil just seems a bit different. He seems a bit bigger, a
mm,
bit more, just a bit more like an athlete. If I'm honest,
mm,
less of a footballer, more of an athlete.
yeah. And was you ever playing before athletics? Or was there any other sports which you was doing? Or
Um, I played a bit of everything. I went to a rugby school, so we played rugby. I was far too skinny. I got thrown about, and it was like, this is not for me. And then I'd played football a bit, but nothing to any
nothing
level.
serious?
Nah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
nothing to any. Like I played yeah, as a young kid, but I always loved individual sports. I wasn't a very good loser. I used to kick off at my teammates if they messed up, even
Yeah.
at a young age. So yeah, maybe that might have been nurtured better if I'd have joined a
Mm,
football club or something. But no,
worked out
athletics was the
well,
one
no?
for me. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. So would you say when you run the 400, is there any strategy like do you set off quick or do you just see how it pans out?
Um, it's something that changes every year, really. Like it depends
Mm,
how fit you are, how good you feel. Uh, Optimum race for me would be to get out, run like 11 flat for the first 100, uh, coast down the back straight, run 21.4 to 21.6, and start building around the top bend so that I can accelerate off the bend. Um,
makes
and
sense.
then you kind of try to finish with like 12 flat. It can't always go that way. It doesn't always work that way for me. I
Yeah.
wish it did, but it's just finding that rhythm that works for me where I can run relaxed. If I can run 21.4 to
Mm,
21.6 and I'm relaxed, um, then I know I can run 44s, 45 lows every day of the
make,
week.
makes sense. You have any idols in the 400 meters who you looked up to? Would you say?
As a kid, Donna Fraser,
Mm,
for me, she was obviously we grew up around. So we both grew up in Fort Heath. We both like big, tall, leggy people, you know. And she ran for Croydon Harriers and came fourth at the Olympics in Sydney. And she was just someone who I don't know. It's nice when you see someone from your local area come through, and
That's it.
she was easy to get a hold of. And as a young
Mm.
athlete, she came to our club dinners, and she was a brilliant person to have around the club. And as a 400-meter runner, she'd been my first, and probably Warrener after that. Jeremy
Oh,
Warrener.
Jeremy, legend, man, legend.
Yeah, do you know what?
I'm Merritt as well.
So I saw Merritt as a kid, so I was similar age to Lashawn. He's a year older than me. So I saw him at the World Juniors. But I've just been on a camp in Dubai with Alex Nibbs, who's British 400-meter champion this year. He didn't know who Jeremy Warrener was.
Oh,
And I was
bloody
like,
hell.
come on, man. I know you're a 400-hurdler, but
Nah, I
this
know
guy
your
was
field.
different.
Oh, he's 400 hurdles. Nah, I know your.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
This guy is different, man. Warrener was special. So I educated him on him.
Yeah. So going back to it's funny we mentioned Merritt. So Merritt competes in occasionally the 200.
Yeah.
Has that ever been anything you've considered, or just the 400?
I wish I had the pace to be a 200-meter runner. It's probably it's my favorite event, to run. Like my favorite event to watch is like the 8s and 15s. But if I could run them too and be good at it, I would every day of the week. I think it's just fun, man. You just transition off the bend and stand tall. But I just don't have the leg speed. I don't have the I don't have that 10-2, 10-3 pace. Like Lashawn and all the Stephen Gardner, Wade Van Nico, they're all 10-0, 9-9 guys. So it's like they can compete at that level. Whereas I just don't have that in my locker.
Yeah. So in the 2008 relay, you led that off, didn't you? You was first leg, and in most was
always fourth.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I always run fourth.
Okay. Now, so I was gonna ask, do you feel more comfortable on the straight or the bend, or does it? Is it the straight? Is it the straight then? Because you're always on the.
No, the 4x4. So in the 4x4,
4x4,
it's on last leg it's rolling. Yeah. It's always rolling.
I'm always thinking, because I'm a sprinter. I'm always thinking 100 meters, bloody hell.
Yeah. No, if I did a 4x1, I'd like to have a go on the bend.
Yeah.
I'd like to go third leg, but I ain't got the hand skills for that. The only time I did it once, a good level, I had who was running into me? I did it at St Mary's as a kid, and literally I'd done a 400 in a day, and they're like, "Oh, do you mind filling in?" And me and this other 400 guy went on third and fourth leg.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like a 10-4 guy, and he came running in at me so quick. I was like, "Oh, damn!" But I had Craig Pickering. I was racing against Craig Pickering around the bend, and I managed to hold my own against Craig, and he was like British #1 at the time, I think. So it was kind of like I felt like I could do okay with rolling speed, but now for the 4x4, I'll always go last leg. It just suits me. It's I enjoy the pressure of it, and it's about representing your team and trying to they've done a lot of hard work to get you in a good position. So it's you've got to finish it, and I've always thrived on that pressure.
Yeah, but it could be more pressure if you're behind, can't it?
It's sometimes I think if you've got a sit and kick option, so if you get to the position where, so I'm literally 2 or 3 meters off a guy and I can sit on his shoulder, it's the easiest job in the world. The hardest job is to be in front and be like, right, I know there's a guy sitting behind me. I know that he's going to put pressure on me at some stage. How do I beat him? And those have always been my most satisfying ones, when I've been in a position where I have to dominate someone who's got all the advantages. So I've always enjoyed that, but it's hopefully time someone else stood up and took the job.
Do you believe lanes are important in 400 meters? As we've seen world records, one from lane 8 in your event. So do you think it's important, or does it not matter to you?
Yeah, it is. I think you won't ever see Wade doesn't choose to go in lane 8 unless it's the right thing for that track. Rio, the bends weren't great. So if you're on the inside, it was really quite tight. And even in lane 3 or 4, which would normally be your optimum lanes, they weren't great. So he kind of wanted to be in lane 7 or 8. That's why he came second in the semi-final on purpose. You watch his run, he's literally walking down the last 30 meters because he's like, right, I need you to beat me so I can go. And it was all planned.
That was tactical.
That was all tactical. Whereas Carsten Warholm, he loves it. He likes to be out on his own. He likes to do his own thing, and that's what suits him. But when you come to a Diamond League, none of those guys pick lane 8. Only in the 200s, the guys are starting to migrate towards 6, 7, 8. But in the 4s, it's the middle lanes. You want to be. I prefer lane 3 or 4. Well, I think both the Europeans I've won, it's been like in lane 3 and 4. So it suits me, I think, to be racing people. Yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you feel you ran the race of your life and still not won? Has that ever happened? I know that could.
Yeah. When I ran my PB, I came 4th in my heat. I ran 44.4. I literally put it on my Instagram yesterday, and it was
I saw that. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was a perfect race, and but it was good. Like it was what I had to do to try and qualify. And I probably think, like I watching it back yesterday, I was like, you know what, I'd love to have swapped lanes with Lee Marvin. Bonavecco is a Dutch 400 meter runner. He was in lane 4, I think. And I was like, if I'd had that opportunity to just be like, I'm tall, and everyone says, oh, you should prefer to be on the outside, but I preferred to be in the middle of the race. And I think I might have got like another couple of maybe a 10th out of it. Got close to that British record, a European record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've kind of answered this already, but obviously you're a big guy. I was going to ask if you ever considered doing a high jump, like Bondarenko, Barshim, and all them.
They got springs, mate. They got proper springs. Barshim is
just
different movement.
Was it 244 or something? 241?
Yeah, he's up
like
there.
It's crazy.
Both those boys went over 240, and it's different once you get. I did it for my club. I did it for Croydon all the time. I remember I did it and somewhere in Kent, and we did it. And I remember I had the 1500 like straight afterwards, and it was like literally like just jumping around. But I did 180, and I was kind of like, that's okay. I won the competition. Go do my 1500. But I don't have those springs either. Like that's why I can't accelerate. Like I can't run 10-1 because I don't have that power. I've got like a rhythm to the way I run, and the high jump. Yeah, having trained with high jumpers and stuff in the past, like they're not. It's just what they can do. It's just the contact and the pressure they can put down on the floor and react off of it. And I just don't have that. And plus, they can do these big arches, and I'm not that flexible and stuff. So,
and that's why you didn't. Talking about that flexibility, that's why you didn't consider doing the 400 hurdles. Is that part?
Yeah, no, I don't have that hip range. My hips were just yeah, man. That's something that maybe if I'd discovered yoga as an 18-year-old, I might be able to do it. But no.
That's hard work, you know. Yoga. That's not. We sweating them.
It's difficult. It's definitely a thing that once you master and you get good at, it can have a good impact on your whole life. So I'm still a what do you call a noob? Still a noob when it comes to that.
Yeah. So one thing, when I used to train, the one thing I hate about athletics training, but don't hate, but obviously I know the stretching. You could stretch if you wanted to for an hour or so. Like, is there any aspect of training which you just don't like, but you know you have to do?
I suppose. Don't know, man. I find it a privilege. I'm very lucky to do what I do. Like, I'm very lucky to still be in a sport. I'm 33 years old, and I'm still able to support a family running around in a circle. So, like, I'm lucky in that sense. There's just bits that they're just hard days, and you just got to get through them. I think I live for that 1% where those 99% of it's hard. It's rubbish. Training's hard, and you're hurting, and you pick up niggles and injuries and stuff like that. As long as it comes good for that 1%, it's worth it.
Yeah. So you see in Beijing reaching the final, that was a big achievement. You must have been how old? What, 21 or something? Or 20?
About 21.
Yeah. So was you a bit disappointed of where you finished, or was you kind of?
It was weird because basically my whole mantra for that year was like, right, I want to make final. That was it. I was desperate to make the final. I'd written down a piece of paper. I'd written the time I had to run, and I hit it. Like 44.60 was the time I wrote down on a piece of paper, and I hit it in the semi-final. Came second in my semi-final behind Lashawn, and I was like, made the final. Sick. But then in my head, it was too late to go, oh, I need to think about medals. Because I should have won a medal. I should have come away with a bronze medal. The opportunity was there. You're never going to get opportunities like that where to qualify. It was quite tough to make the final, but in the final, actually, the first two were gone. And then third, fourth, and fifth, like I was literally an arm's reach between. I was sixth, and it was an arm reach to third. You know, so those opportunities don't come very often. And I just didn't have the mental When I turned up to the race, I was just happy. You know, I was like, I've made the final, and I was trying to convince myself to go win a medal rather than this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm here to do. So when I have done well in championships and since, it's like, right, I'm here to win, and that's how it's worked out. So
yeah. Would you say what was the not the worst, but the injury which made you what was the worst injury to overcome?
I've had two big ones that have really like knocked me back. So in 2009, so after the Olympics in 2008, obviously I was disappointed coming sixth, but I now knew what I needed to do to become a better athlete. I now knew how to focus and how to prepare for championships, and I basically got myself into a shape where I was probably about half a second quicker than I was the year before. And then I had a big hamstring tear in April, and it was from not listening to my body. It's from not. I didn't respect it enough. I was doing stuff in training that was silly, and I was training so well that everything was easy. I could run 300s in like 31 high, 32, and it was just like, oh, this is fun. And then, I just didn't listen to my body enough. So I knew there was a small little sore spot, and that turned into a massive injury. So in 2009, big hamstring injury. Managed to get back, and I went to the World Champs for the relay. I did the individual as well, but I didn't run well. But we got a silver medal in the 4x4. But then, so that was a big injury. And then in 2012, I had a really good winter again, and I did respect my body. I was doing the right things all the time, being sensible. And then I did a race in Hengelo in Holland. I'd gone into that race as like world number one, I'd started the season at world number one. And then I think I was like still in the top 3 or 4. And then in this race, I just decided I was going to smash it. And coming off the first bend, I didn't control my body properly because I'd never gone that quick before. And I jarred my leg to stay in the lane. I ended up tearing my labrum and my hip. So I finished the race, ran 44.9, and then that basically ruined my London Olympics. Like I still went to the Olympic Games in London 2012, but I was in pain the whole way through it, and I was never able to run to the levels that I should have. And that was an easy Olympic final to make. Like I think I could have, the way I started the season, even if I'd have just maintained that, I'd have been comfortably in the final and looking at a medal. So it was disappointing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you said something interesting there about the relays, about how you didn't run well, but you still got a silver. You think this happens often? Like one athlete might not run well, but he could still get a medal. Do you think that's?
I think we were lucky that year. Like the time that we'd run in Beijing the year before, it was about nearly 2 seconds slower, I think, to get a silver medal, and we came fourth, obviously, in Beijing. So it was kind of like, it was just the way that the luck of the draw, I suppose. But we had Michael Bingham, who had a really good year that year, and he made the world final, and I think we just ran the right order. So by the time I got the baton, like we were in second place. Normally I get the baton in like 4th or 5th or whatever, and this time I was actually, the Americans were gone. Like Lashawn Merritt was about 30 meters ahead, and I got the baton with an Australian guy sitting on my shoulder who I'd beaten all my career, and I was like, I knew how to control the race and whatever. So I ran a decent split, nothing too special, but it was enough to hold him off, and came away with a silver medal.
Yeah. We've kind of mentioned them with Merritt and Warner, but is there ever like when you're on the start line, do you think to yourself, if I beat this guy, I've got a chance of winning the race, sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So like Warner was like, I've never beat Lashawn, never beaten him. I think I got close to it once in Gateshead. I say close to it. I was on the outside lane 6. I ran hard to 300, and my plan was just be ahead of everyone at 300 and hold on. And he basically came up on my shoulder at 300, 100 meters to go. He had a look across at me and literally just like, all right, bang, 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 started striding away. And I came second that day behind him, which was good. But when I went in 2012, I beat Warner to go. That was the race I went world number 1 in, and it was kind of like, it was a big deal. Like Warner he was different. For me as a young kid, he was the athlete I wanted to be into the levels. So there's races where if you go and beat this guy, you're going to be in a good place. And Yeah, I've been fortunate. Like I've beaten some good guys. I've never beaten Lashawn. That was always someone I thought, I'd love to get him, but I've beat him on a street race. That doesn't count though.
Hey, it does on this show, man.
Yes.
Legend, man, legend. You ever get nervous?
Yeah.
Or have you got nervous? Has there been a particular time you've got nervous, say like families there or?
Very nervous. I used to get really nervous racing at Crystal Palace because grew up in Thornton Heath, which is the bottom of the hill from Crystal Palace. So we always used to go there as a kid, and I knew the park like the back of my hand. And then to race in the stadium was a big deal. And I think I ran there in 2007, no, 2006. I ran there. Maybe I ran 06, 07. I think in 07 I won the B race, and then at 08 I won the A race. Like so, and that was massive. But I was puking my guts up before that race. Like, where the AstroTurf pitch is at Crystal Palace. Do you know Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the AstroTurf pitch. That's where they used to have the call in, checker, final call or whatever. And then the walkway where people can walk across the top. They were like, I was puking my guts out the back of this tent, and there's people just taking pictures of me and stuff. But I used to get very nervous. I kind of wish I was nervous again. I haven't been nervous for a race for a long time, but it's definitely fueled me it got my adrenaline up, and it's something that I kind of miss. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned Crystal Palace because I used to when I was at sixth form I used to work at West Ham in the kiosks, and then I did one season at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy with those fans, man. Especially when your team's losing as well, they're just serving them fans. It's just it's headache, man.
Football is a different world.
It is, man. It is a different world, especially nowadays with the social media is just crazy now, man. So what was I gonna say? So what was your goal when you came into athletics? Was it just the medals, the records, or just skip for your family, or was there a particular...
As a kid, it was just fun. I loved it, and then it was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going and see how far I can get. And then I have an uncle. He basically, when I was like 17, he's like, if you're gonna do this, just do it properly. Like, don't mess about with it. Don't play football. Don't play rugby. You've got to focus on this. And he always had the thing of, he used the Nike motto. It's like, just do it. And that was like my first year where I started running well. I think I won the South of England. So I won the counties in South England. So I went to nationals, messed it up at the nationals, but it was like my first year running the 400. It was like, oh, this is nice. This is quite easy. But I don't really know like where it just all started. It became a job, I suppose, when I was like 20, about 20, where I was I had a contract at 18 from Adidas, and it was cool and it was all nice. And then it was like 19, 20, where you're like, right, I do actually have to perform at a good level now. I can't just say, oh, this is my learning curve. It's not fun. This is just about, this is going to be a job for as long as you can make it. So yeah, it was probably around 20.
And would you agree that this athletics is, in my opinion, it's quite a short career if you look at it. How much Olympics would you get out of it?
It's different for everyone.
It depends on your event.
I think I'm probably one of the exceptions. Like, I've had like a 15-year career. There's not many people who've had that, and to go to 3 Olympics, hopefully go to 4 in athletics, it's tough. Like, it's not a sport where your body lets you do that for a long time. Maybe I haven't performed at the highest level, and that's probably why. Like, consistently, I haven't been the best. So maybe that's how I've managed to hold on for so long.
And if you weren't a 400-meter runner, what would you be doing? Would you say? I
don't know. I'll be on a building site, I think.
Is that family business then?
Yeah, my dad's a builder. Yeah,
okay.
I think I don't know. I didn't really want to be a builder as a kid, but then as I've got older, I realised I'm quite hands-on with that kind of stuff, and I quite enjoy it. So maybe I would have. I'd have probably gravitated towards it, or I don't know, something. I don't think I could have stayed in. I don't think I could have stayed in London. I think it's just that I like London, and I've loved leaving it though. Like, I miss it. I miss bits of it, but I do enjoy having like space away from it. So to live in London, you have to obviously earn a lot of money. And it's different.
How do you? This might not even happen, but especially with this, with football, there's the social media. There's a lot of trolls. Have you ever dealt with that? And if you did, how would you deal with it?
Yeah. Twitter can be vicious, and
Yep.
Instagram, or they can be vicious. But like, sometimes you take it to heart, and you're like, "What the hell? What have I done to this guy?" Like, literally, I'm just doing my best, and I think that some people really forget that we're not. I think people put us on this pedestal, like as professional sports people, that you're going to get. I'm not saying it's acceptable to go to people in football and abuse them or like give them abuse in any way. But I think sometimes in your head, because they're earning this amount of money every week, you're like, okay, cool. But in athletics, like top level of funding is like 28 grand a year. It's not 28 grand a week. It's 28 grand a year. So I feel like that they forget that we're just normal people. But my way of dealing with it is just like, I kind of laugh at it. I take a screenshot of it sometimes and I'll use it for a bit of motivation. I think I had a lot in 2017, and I wasn't running well in 2017. I had a bit of a down year, and you're meant to be up for home games. But before the final of the 4x4, I got loads of abuse, like non-stop abuse. And I screenshotted loads of it. And the next day I came out and I did my job, and we came third. And it was quite funny just to go back to see those people. And then there's loads of people trolling them, saying, "Oh, you can't look what you said yesterday," and all this. And then how I ran the next day, they're like, yeah, it was good. It was nice to have that like moment of like a little sweet victory in itself. So, but it's tough. It's sad that people do feel like they can abuse people. It's sad that people feel that just because you're faceless or whatever behind a Twitter handle or whatever, you can get away with it. But it's tough.
So who is? Speak to me about your first athletics coach, or your first serious athletics coach. Who was?
I suppose my first coach was Mike Fleet at Croydon Harriers, who was an endurance coach, middle distance endurance, but someone who is a school teacher. You know, he adapts to whatever was there and whatever he could coach. He made it very fun. He was a bit weird. I don't think it mind me saying that. Like he used to have he was always on the megaphone, and he used to like bark down the megaphone, and it was like, come on, man, that's a bit weird. But it was his way of just engaging kids. It was like there was a lot of young kids there, and he took me through to, my first World Champs. I went to the World Champs in 2015. He took me that far, and then I went to Nick Dakin in Loughborough, and I was with him for 7 years. Then I was with a coach called. Well, I was briefly in Birmingham, but we'll talk about Birmingham. And then I was there, and I joined Rainer Ryder. And I was with him for 4 years, maybe 3.5 years, and 1-2 Europeans and stuff. So I've had some good coaches. I'm back with Nick Dakin now. He's still a good friend, so it's kind of like he helps me out a bit.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is that Rainer Ryder the coach of Christian Taylor, or is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's a big move. Like he's a different level coach. I think it's not unfair to say to other coaches I've worked with, but he's the best coach I've ever worked with. He is the guy he's a world-class coach, and he gets results. Like if he comes away from the championships with 1 medal, it's a disaster, you know. Like that's the level of, like, he'll go to Olympics or World Champs and he's expecting to get 5 or 6 medals. Whereas I think British coaches are like happy when you make a final or you get 1 medalist. It's kind of they coast a bit. Whereas he was like, I think we went to Moscow and Tiffany Porter was the only medalist. I think individual. We got relay.
2013.
Yeah, I think actually the women's 4x1 got a medal.
Yeah,
and he was the coach for that, and he basically taken them from nothing to, they weren't funded, to winning a world medal. So that was good. But yeah, he was gutted. He was down. Like the man was, he was a wreck. You know, it's like literally come away from a world champs with 1 medal and loads of finalists, but in his eyes, it was a failure. So he was different level, and I learned a lot from him. He taught me how to win. He taught me how to run properly, simple stuff like that. So I really enjoyed working with him.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the team sports, you spoke about like having arguments with teammates.
Yeah.
Does that happen with your relay team?
You can do.
Yeah.
It can do. Like selection can be tough. I think sometimes you get athletes who struggle with selections and understand, like, that they might feel that they've got more to offer, but they haven't shown it. So it's like, well, how do you prove yourself? If you don't take a chance to prove yourself, then and they can get a bit arsey, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. But like, I don't know. I think it's about being part of a team. We need to develop that kind of mentality that yes, we're individual athletes, but when we come together, it's about winning for the team. It's about winning for our country and for all the people that have put time and effort into us. And it can be, and now it's at this point where we get struggles with people who don't want to run the relay because of other things. But I think if you're funded, like we're fortunate to be funded and supported by our national governing body, if you take that funding, then accept that your role is a relay runner.
That's it.
If you're funded for the individual, cool, do your thing. But if you're not, then if you're funded for the relay, then mixed relay, that's a big opportunity to win a medal. We've got to take it. So that can cause arguments.
So when I was running my short career when I was 15, my local club is Woodford, and we used to have I don't know if you have this. We have something called an open graded meeting where you just go and do open graded meeting. And so there'll be times where I might run a race and I'd come fifth. Then my coach would be telling me, "Oh, don't worry about it. That you're racing against your own time." And obviously, that 10 years later, I kind of understand him. At the time, I was thinking, "I've come fifth. What are you talking about?" How do you feel? Do you agree with? Do you see both sides? Don't you? Yeah.
So I know what you mean. Like it's very hard to. You want to win the race. You're there to win, but once you're racing against, so if I was doing 100 and I was racing against a guy who's a 9-second runner, there's no way I'm going to beat him. But I've got to understand that it's just about getting the best out of myself. It's a good opportunity to learn and to develop yourself. But when you do athletics, you're there to win, innit? So.
So the 2009 Worlds, was it? I'm sure it was. Merritt got the world lead, I think, in the world, and Warren got like season's best. So would you say it was just that time the Americans were just firing rather than being off? Like they were just.
Yeah, they were good, man. Lashawn and Jeremy had kind of just. Jeremy had dominated for years, and like in Osaka, it was like they got 1, 2, 3. Angelo Taylor came third, so it was Jeremy, Lashawn, Angelo Taylor, and then the Olympics they got 1, 2, 3 again. In those two guys was just so dominant for so long, and they were amazing athletes to watch, to learn from, to be around. But yeah, Lashawn, that's when he started coming to the ascendancy. And then Karani James kind of came in after that.
Yeah, and you, I think it was that the Worlds. Didn't you get like a silver or bronze? No.
So 2009. Yeah, so we got a relay silver medal.
And that was I was gonna say that was a season's best for you. So was you pleased that the team done everything they could? Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. We qualified as the fastest loser. We didn't run very well in the heats. We came fourth. Or third, I can't remember, but I remember I got the baton quite far back, and I remember having to kind of make some moves down the home straight, trying to get through, and it wasn't a good day in the heat. But then the final, we just put it together. Like we had a relay coach it was the first time we'd had a coach who understood that if you're not in the mix early in the race, you're not going to compete. So Conrad Williams went first leg, did an amazing job, and then we had Michael Bingham, who was our best 400 runner at the time individually. He went on second leg, and people were like, "Oh, you can't put him second leg." It's like, "No, if you put him in second, they'll be in the mix." And off his leg, we were second. And from then on, myself and Rob Tobin, I think it was.
Yeah, Tobin.
Yeah, Tobin went third, I went fourth, and we just kind of held on to our position. I think.
Yeah.
It was. It was smart, and it's the way that we kind of run it now is similar. We kind of tried to be involved early on and compete.
That's it. So you can do. So not have you got a favorite track? Or no, when I say favorite, is it just a track where you feel comfortable running that you could put on a good performance? Or
I'm always excited. I obviously don't get to do it often, but Beijing, the national stadium in Beijing was I got excited just being there. Like I'm not shouldn't really Beijing as a place isn't the nicest part of the world, but like it's quite dirty, it's quite smoggy, but that stadium is just different. It's so nice. Like the building itself, the structure, you're amazed when you look at it, and you're like, then you get down into the stadium. The track is perfect. There's not much wind, barely any wind, and the way the stadium goes, it kind of goes straight up.
Yeah.
So when you're looking up at the crowd, they're like above your head, and it's just it's that cauldron. It feels. I loved it. It was it's my favorite place to race. Definitely.
Yeah. So the 4x4 is very different to the 4x1 in terms of the changeovers. So what advice would you give a young 4x400 meter runner with the changeover? Would you say just literally turn around, or?
I think it's making sure you understand that you have to get the baton before you go anywhere. We do a visual changeover rather than the American style, which is like they take 3 steps, turn, go. So they're trusting that their guy is going to get there. Whereas we I think we're a bit more sensible in the sense that we need to. It's fine when you're out in front. If you're America and say you have 4 guys who can run 43, 44 seconds, then you do whatever's the quickest changeover. But for us, if there's going to be traffic and competition between other athletes, then you need to make sure you can see your athlete coming through, your teammate coming through, and get the baton in your hand. But it's I think it's just like, I think it's something that I was always good at as a kid because I played other sports. So like it's that quick step sideways, quick step, and then a quick turn and get out. Like you got to go as hard as you can for that first 60 meters to be involved in any race. And that's my advice. It's just basically take the baton, but get out hard. And I was very fortunate. Tim Benjamin, who made the world final in 2005 in the 400, he taught me about how to do it really. And he basically gave me a big kick up the bum in 2005 as a kid. Told me to get out, and it works. It's definitely worked for me. So yeah, that's my advice.
So the 2010 European champs, those are very good champs. And you got the bronze in the 400 meters. You and Bingham just.
It was close.
Did you think it was silver, or did you know? Just he pipped me. What was you thinking when?
To be honest, I thought I won until I looked across because I was in lane 1, and all I could see was the guys in lane. So my aim was to beat my training partner was David Gillick, and he was I thought he was a favourite. Him and Jonathan Borlée were the favourites, and they were in 3 and 4. So basically, my job was come off the bend ahead of them or put pressure on them so that I knew they'd both tense up. So I rolled off the bend, and I kind of shot my load, I suppose, in a way. I got to 350 and I was done, but I couldn't see anybody else. I knew Leslie Jeune, a French athlete, I'd gone past him, and I was like, I can't see anybody else, and I was just running, dying, and I made the mistake of looking across. And as I looked across, I saw obviously Kevin was gone. I couldn't beat him, but I saw Bingham, and I was like, if I'd just ran through the line, I'd have got Bingham. But it was one of the most entertaining races, I think, in 400 meter history. If I'm honest, it wasn't the quickest time in the world, but it was so close from 1st to 7th. It was 0.2, I think, between all of us, 0.3 maybe. So like it's a blanket finish. It was anybody in that race could have won it out of those 7. Really, it was amazing. So. And the thing is, like the Russian guy, if he'd had a nice reaction, he'd have come second. He had, I think, a 0.4 reaction. So all he needed was a 0.2 to win it.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
that's a proper final. That's our final.
It was exciting. It was exciting to be in. It was exciting to be part of. Barcelona was an amazing place to be. Hot, so hot that night as well, and I love that heat. So it was an amazing opportunity, and I was happy. I wanted to win it. But once I got a bronze, I was kind of like, you know what, it could have been a lot worse.
Exactly. And have you ever watched races back to try and say, I could do that better?
Yeah, all the time. I could tell you before I finished the race where like after the race, I could tell you like once I finished, I know where I've made mistakes. I know what I can do better. But I think that's how you have to analyze, be honest with yourself. And if you don't be honest with your own performance, then you're never going to improve. So I've always tried to be.
And also, you can find mistakes in races which you've won as well, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, my PB run, I didn't run a great race, perfect race. It was a good race. Like there was definitely more to be done, and there's things that I wish I had done better. That would have been enough to go European record. But it's a race. These things happen.
Yeah. So when you got the bronze, was you just thinking, I'm gonna be back for the gold when you did it?
Yeah, like it was a weird one because it was like I was quite arrogant as a young athlete. Like all those guys, we grew up together and raced together, and I was confident. Like I'd beaten everybody that summer at least once, and I think I knew David Gillick, my training partner, was in better shape than me, but I'd beaten him in an important race earlier in the year. So I was like, I knew I could beat him on any given day. So I was disappointed, like not to win. I should have won it. But yeah, to come away with a bronze, it was a nice feeling to get, and then like it was nice to have that kind of motivation to come back and do better.
Yeah. So your relay time in this Europeans was slower than the world's. Is that just simply because of the Europeans worlds? Is it simple as that? Why it was slower?
No, I think it was just I had a lot of traffic, so I got the baton in about 6th, and in the first 40 meters, I had to make up like 3 places. So I basically smashed it, and it's not the way I ran physically as well. Like I made sure I kind of bullied them out of the way, kind of thing, and it's not the way to run a nice fluent run. So I kind of got myself from 6th to 3rd, and in that it took a lot out of me. So I kind of had to sit back down the back straight a bit, and then try and attack off the bend. But the problem was I left because I had to sit off to make sure I could come home strong. I kind of made the guys in the front, I didn't put enough pressure on them. So like I was closing down the home. Like I managed to come past Kevin Bourlet off the bend, but Krasnov had maybe about 2 meters, and if he'd have been a meter, it'd have been fine. But it was 2 meters ahead of him, so it was just I should have been able to. If I'd have put more pressure on him down the back straight, I'd have ran a lot quicker. And it was a shame. Like we have been upgraded as far as I'm aware, because I think Russia had another athlete fail a drug test in that race, but I don't think we deserve it. I haven't asked for the medal anyway. I'm not chasing it.
I like the honesty, man.
It's the way you survive in this game. I think if you're honest with yourself, then
with all these training camps, I know these all these events. There have been times where you just miss family and friends and just home, really. It must be.
Yeah, definitely. When I was a kid, I could do 2 months. It wasn't a problem. I'd speak to my parents on the phone. I speak to my girlfriend, now my wife. I used to speak to her on the phone. It'd be cool, and we were happy. And then I had kids, and it was like, you know what? 3 weeks is a long time. And I went to the Commonwealths in 2020. No, 2018. 2018. Sorry. And my daughter was she was a couple of months old, and when I finally saw her like 8 weeks, 7 weeks later, she didn't recognize me, and it cut me up. It really cut me up. So time away from family is different now. If I could afford to bring everybody, like I think if we'd have known that schools were cancelled before I went to Dubai in January, I'd have brought the whole kids out, everybody out, my wife and the kids. So
it would have been great, man.
Yeah.
What was you must have been excited for London 2012. What was going through your mind? Was you just pumped, or was you?
Yeah, it was good.
I've got to be there. Was you thinking that I've got to be there, or was it just
100%?
Yeah.
I remember. So I was. My mum used to sell sweets at the Croydon Arena for Croydon Harriers whenever they had like school days, whatever, sports days. She used to be selling sweets at the clubhouse, and I think on the day that it was announced, I was with her at the clubhouse when it was announced, and I was like, you know what, I've got to go. Like I'd already been to one Olympics, but I was on my way to one Olympics. I knew I've been to world champs and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to this Olympics, but London's the one. And it was different. Like I had a bit of an injury in 2011, got through the injury, and in 2012 just trained so well. I lived like a hermit as well, so I had this altitude tent in my room, and it basically meant that I had to be in it 12 hours a day. So when everybody else was doing all this advertising and going down and doing events pre-2012, I was like in my room, literally sitting on watching DVDs or whatever it was, or playing PlayStation or whatever it was. Like, and it was tough. I wouldn't do it again, but It was my coach's way of keeping an eye on me and keeping me controlled and keeping me from. There was a lot of people who got very distracted. There was a lot of people who did a lot of media, a lot of events, and then they didn't even go to the games. So it was basically, he was just trying to protect me from all that. And it was an amazing thing to be a part
of course. But as it was announced in 2005, at the same time, you have to think. Unfortunately, in this game, one serious injury could literally end your whole career. So, what do you think? Let me just take it year by year. Hopefully, I'll be there for 2012, sort of thing.
I think after I moved to Loughborough, it was always about going to the next games. It was always a 4-year cycle. It was always like you have Europeans and world champs, and you can go and do well there. But it was always about going to that next thing, and that was always my aim. It was like, I'm going to the Olympics, and 2012 is going to be. It's a privilege to go to Olympics. It's a privilege to be involved, named in Team GB, but also to get to that next level where you're at home games with, like, I don't know, it was a different pressure, and maybe I wasn't prepared for it, but it was an amazing thing to be a part of.
Yep. And with the global pandemic and stuff, with last summer's Olympics and called off and whatnot, is that a blessing in the sky? In the skies, gives you more time to train, or was you ready last summer?
I think it's been a complete blessing. Like, I'm a year older, which is, at my age, it's not ideal, but it's the first summer I've had off since I haven't had a summer off. I've been doing the sport for 15 years, and I've been competing and traveling every year. So it was kind of like at 33, it was nice to just have a summer where I could spend the time at home. Like, I trained, but not hard. Like, I was doing bits. I was basically helping out other people who were trying to race. So, like, Guy Liamoff was in Loughborough, and I was helping him out with his sessions, and I was helping out my training partner, Jess Turner, for her workouts and stuff. So I was just being like a glorified pacemaker. But then I was able to eat what I wanted. I was drinking what I wanted. I was barbecuing every day. I was spending time with my wife and my kids, and it was an amazing thing. So, like, I came back in training into September. Like, the beginning, normally I don't start till October, but this year I was like, you know what, I've had a good break. So I came back in September, and I've been fresh ever since. Like, I really have. I've been able to get through workouts that maybe years before, where I just, even these simple workouts, I'd just be like, this is tough. Whereas now I'm just picking them out. It's not a problem. And I think it's just from having that time off and letting my body kind of recuperate a bit.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say makes the 400 meters such a tricky event, apart from the fact it's a 1-lap sprint?
I think obviously it's hard. It's never easy. Even when you're running at the top level, it's never easy. But I think it's just understanding how to do it yourself. There's different ways to run it. There's different attributes that athletes have, and the thing is to utilize your attributes to your best of your ability, rather than I try to run other people's races, especially like with Rayner. I think he was used to coaching guys who were like 20.3, 20.2, 200 meter runners, and I probably at best was like a 20.6 guy. So I couldn't attack it the same way that he wanted the guys to attack it. And once we worked it out between us, it was easy. I could run 44 seconds. I was in shape to run silly times over 300, but I couldn't carry it to 400. And so that's the development. It's about learning what makes you the best 400 meter runner you can be, rather than what's the perfect fit for everybody.
Yeah. Would you consider going into coaching, or do you coach now?
I don't know. Coaching, maybe. I self-coached for a bit. It was terrible. And I just beasted myself all the time and never gave myself a break. So I don't know. Like, I'd like to do my coaching badges. I was meant to do them in November, but that got postponed because of COVID. And I'd like to be involved in the relays. I feel like I've got a wealth of knowledge there that maybe not. I don't think there's many people who have. I don't think there's many people who've done it as long as I have globally, let alone in the UK. So I feel like I can offer a lot.
As in be a relay coach.
Yeah, being involved in the 4x4. I think like I have a lot to offer there. So we'll see.
Was it Christian Malcolm is for the 4x1? as far as
Christian Malcolm's now a head coach at British
okay.
Athletics. He
Wow.
was involved in the 4x1 for a couple of years. Then he went to Australia and took over the head coach role there, and now he's come back and he's our head coach.
Oh, bloody hell.
And yeah, I think he's going to do a good job. I'm excited about him.
Mm. So you seem like would you say you're an introvert, extrovert, or you just don't like the fame? I'm just a runner. That
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I was always, as a kid, I was very introverted. I thought I was quite a quiet kid, and then I think in athletics, you kind of have to show a bit of personality to not for social media or whatever, but just for like to be part of a group, a training group. And so I kind of developed that, and now I don't shut up. So
yeah,
a bit of an extrovert, I'd say.
Yeah. We kind of spoke about this, but at the start of 2012, you did a 44.92. So it was a bit of a disappointment of what happened after in 2012.
Yeah.
Like it's a good time. It's a decent time.
Yeah, it was good. I was in better shape than that, and it was nice to start the season early. In like, I think it was April or May when I ran that, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go like 44 mid here, 44 low. And then when I got injured in Henglo, it was kind of like, it made it impossible to even like, I think I ran the best after that was like 45.3, and I was just hobbling along with one leg. So I was like, to run 45.3 on one leg wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't what I needed to make the Olympic final, pick up a medal.
Yeah, like when I was watching athletics with my friends, they used to say that you were because of the glasses, you was recognizable. Like I'll be like, it's Martyn Rooney.
Yeah.
That does help. Like just remember you. You know what I mean? So
it was definitely a kind of accident that it worked out that way. But then I tried to race without them indoors, and I ran awful. I've done one indoor race in my life, but I'll never do it again. But I should have worn the glasses then.
So you don't, because did you just say you've done one indoor race?
Yeah, one. That's it.
You just don't perform there, or is it
just too tall, man? To get around those bends, it's just not suited for my body. And I think like you need to be that shorter sprinter kind of guy where you're involved in the race early on, and I'm more of an even pace runner, and it doesn't suit the way I run. So I've left it to other athletes, and I've been happy to let them do it.
Yeah. So as a sprinter, would you say you're like a technician or a strength runner, or how would you is there a way you describe your running style?
I suppose it's quite a relaxed running style. I still try to hit my shapes. I still try to be like front side mechanics. I still try to make sure my arms are going in the right direction. I used to run across my body, and that gave me lots of problems with my hamstrings and lower back issues and stuff. So I do try to run with good form, and that's what Rainer taught me. Like he taught me how to run properly and efficiently. And then, but I don't think I'm a strength runner. I'm a strength runner compared to say some British runners, but I'm not. When you look at the top guys like Wade Van Niekerk, like he's a speed guy, but he still has strength. And Karani James, they're still strong. Fred Curley, strong athletes. That they can all rep out a good 500, 600 meters. So they've just got the full spectrum. They can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 600. You know, they can do it all, and that's what it takes to be the best athletes in the world these days.
Yep. So I was watching the 2000 Olympics the other day, the 100-meter final where Dwayne Chambers came fourth, and he was on course for a medal. But when I watched it, when I rewinded it and paused it, I thought he dipped a bit too early for the line, and it cost him a place. Do you agree with me that if you dip too early, it could cost you 1 or maybe 2 places?
Yeah, as we said earlier about Barcelona, like if I hadn't dipped and looked across, I think if I just ran through the line, I'd have got second place. So it can cost you. It's learning how to dip properly and at the right time is a skill in itself. Like I've been out dipped in a 4x4 by a Kenyan athlete because my dip was literally, I bowed my head and he was like full shoulder, everything. And I was like, how you go? How's this boy? He was a mid 800-meter boy as well. I was like, how have you dipped me? But you have to learn. You have to be taught, and I was never taught. It's not saying that was part of my race. It was the best way for me to do it is just keep running through the line, and it normally does the job.
Yep.
I think in a 400, it's more about carrying momentum rather than trying to do anything extra.
Yeah, makes sense. So you mentioned Barcelona was nice and hot. Is there any sort of condition which you prefer? Because like I did hear, I can't remember I will find out who, but someone did say they like running when it's wet. So does it matter to you?
No, I like hot.
Yeah.
I like hot weather. Like if it's high 20s, low 30s. My body seems to react better to it. I seem to be more relaxed. I seem to be able to get my feet down quicker. If I could live and train somewhere warm all year round, if I could afford to be somewhere where I could take my family and just train there in the sun, I'd do that. I think it definitely suits me, and I always run quicker when it's hot. So, yeah.
Isn't focus important, especially with you? Many times you've reached both finals. So is it like a case of just focus on my own final, then focus on the relay? What's that process like?
For me, like the focus is something probably I'm a very aware runner. Like, so I know what's going on around me. I know what's going on, and that's what suits me in a relay. That's why I'm good at relays. I know exactly where everybody else is going to be. I know what position what moves they're making before they've even made it, because I know what's going to happen. In a 400, you kind of need to just be focused on yourself and your own lane, and that's probably the times that I've run my best in the 400. I've been really good at just literally focusing on myself and my lane. But it's kind of, that's a skill in itself. It's something that's hard to do. I think you need to be in amazing shape to really like not be worried about anybody else and just do your own thing. But it's important. It's a skill that needs to be learned. It's what makes me a great relay runner doesn't always help me in the individual.
That makes sense. Yep. So have you got like any role models outside of athletics? Must be a friend, a dad, or
yeah, like definitely as a youngster. Like I have a cousin who played football for the Republic of Ireland.
Oh, okay.
So when I was young, like he was obviously like someone I really looked up to, and he was maybe about 8 years older than me. So yeah, like he was just a pretty special person to have in your family. That was pretty cool. And I had an uncle who I told you about. He said at 17, like just do it. Like he was a successful businessman who, it just worked out that like for me, like what was the right thing to say, and I still speak to him about stuff. And then my mum and my dad, like my mum doesn't always say the right things, but she does kick me up the arse, and my dad kind of backs me up. And my wife's always been, she was an Olympic athlete herself, so she kind of she gets it, and she knows sometimes she pushes the buttons that need to be pushed. And she supports me when I need to be supported. She is, I suppose she's probably the person at the moment who pushes me the most.
Yeah. So what's the one piece of advice you'd give to a younger 400-meter runner, or just sprinter in general?
A younger sprinter. I think focus on good technique, good mechanics. I think we get a lot of, especially in the UK, our athletes aren't conditioned enough from a young age. They're not taught good technique from a young age. They're told to run what's natural, and sometimes running natural is why you get injured. You need to understand the way that Bolt runs. Bolt changed the way he ran to make him a better runner. And if you can follow those models where it's good technical models, and find a coach who can teach it. Not every coach can, and it's not their fault. It's just some people are gifted at it, and find a way that translates to you as the athlete. That's the thing that I learned the most. I think being conditioned and having a better technical model definitely helped my career.
Yeah. So in 2014 at the Europeans in Zurich, you got 2 golds. So is that your best year in athletics on paper?
I suppose so. Like I peaked in January that year. I was doing things in January. I did silly sessions. I was running with the 100-meter boys, and like my flying 30s would be better than theirs. You know, it was silly. I was running at such a level that things were just happening and clicking for me. And And I think I actually peaked early on, and I was struggling through the summer. I couldn't really work out what was going on, and I was still in great shape, but physically, I just couldn't get the performances out of my body. Like I felt like I was in maybe, like I think that year was a 43, 44 second kind of year. Like I felt that good, but I just couldn't make it work. And I managed to win the Europeans, but I didn't run well. I did enough to win the race, and it was good to win. Definitely a good thing to win. But like in the relay, I jogged around like 43.9 or something, and I was like, I wasn't working, I wasn't tired, and I think that showed that I was probably in, like, if I'd have put a good relay together, I might have gone like 43.3, 43.2, which for me would have meant I'd have run 44.0 kind of thing, 44.1. So yeah, it was 2014 was probably that. It was a great year. 2015, I had a really good winter, but I tore my quad in April, which kind of just got in the way of things. But I still ran a PB that year. So 2014, 2015 would have been the best.
And in 2016, you when you retained the European, you beat Maslak.
Yeah,
the indoor specialist. So when you defeated him, you still didn't think, no, I'm not doing still not doing indoor.
he's a different beast indoors, man. Like for me, that race was special because I had been struggling in 2016, and I was in good shape in 2016 as well. But I hadn't raced well. I went to British Champs, ran terribly. Went to the Europeans, and I beat two previous European champions. So it was Kevin Borlée was there, and Pavel Maslak, and Lee Marvin Bernabecco was the Dutch boy who came third. Like, it was good athletes to beat. It was a cold, windy day, so to win that race then was a nice feeling. I think I was quite relaxed because I knew I'd ran really well in the semi-final. I'd guaranteed myself selection for the Olympics. So I was like, cool. The final was just a bonus. I can come here and have some fun. And I think Kevin went out to try and run something quick, and he paid the price, and I just kind of managed to run off of him and run really well. So, and my coach at the time was based in the Netherlands, so I'd spent a lot of time in Holland, and had a little bit of a following. I'd raced in the small meets there, and I had a nice rapport with the crowd. So it was a nice place to go. And my wife came, my mum and dad, my son. He was
nice.
He was just about a year old then, so it was kind of like, it was cool. It was a good one.
Yep. So in the 2015 Worlds in Beijing and the 2017 in London, the Worlds, in the relays, obviously America beat you twice more. Was it the 2017 part was just like, no, they're too good? They keep.
It was weird. Like 2017, I was basically 2016. I'd won the Europeans, then went to the Olympics and messed up the Olympics, and had a bit of they call it like post-Olympic blues. And for me, it was like weird because I was like, you know what, I might not make it to another Olympics from this. So I was really down. Like 2017, I kind of forced myself to race. I wasn't moving that well. I wasn't feeling that well in myself and how I was running. And I felt I apologized to the guys after we came third. Like, yeah, we ran really well, we ran really fast, but I felt like if I'd have been in the same shape in 2016 as I was in 2016, like, we'd have easily won that. We'd have beaten the US, we'd have beaten Trinidad. Like, they put me. It was the first time in my life where I really felt like I'd been put in the right position going into last leg to win at a world level or world or Olympic level. And I was just like, I'm just not good enough at this time to run it. Like, you give me if you give me 2014, 2015, 2016, me, I would have come away with a gold medal in front of a home crowd. I'd have been there nice with the 4x1 boys with their gold medals and stuff. It'd have been amazing. Yeah. It would have been an amazing thing for a British sport to have. And yeah, it was tough. Like, Trinidad ran really well to win it, and the USA, they got their order wrong, and yeah, they paid the price. So
yeah, it happens. So this is actually nothing to do with athletics, but with this sport, obviously you've been to loads of different countries. What would you say? What's the nicest country you've been to during athletics? Would you say?
I always love going to Italy to race and Rome and stuff like that. But actually, Japan for me, because Japan's the one place in the world where you feel like really feel like foreign. You feel like I stand out here, and if I get lost here, I'm really getting lost, and I love that feeling. I love that feeling of like it's unique to like you can go to South America, you go to North America, you go around like Africa, and you'll be okay. Like you'll find your way. But I found it in Japan, even though it's all the technology everywhere. It just felt like it's the one place I've always thought like I really could get scared, lost here, and so I've always loved going there. I really hope to get there for the Olympics in Tokyo this summer, hopefully.
You plan to be there, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the way training's going, and like I said, after having kind of a summer off, I feel good. So we'll see.
So in the 2017 Worlds, how was that for you? Just not making the you got the heats for that one?
Yeah. I to be honest, I was not racing well, and I got lane 7 or 8 in the heat, and I think in the first 30 meters, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be hard." It was a down year. If I did it all over again, what would I do? I'd probably not run the individual and try and focus on like making sure I'm healthy and ready for the relay, but also then try and set myself up for the end of the year. So I felt like if I just needed something to click, and it had been fine. But mentally, I wasn't in the right place. So
it's funny you just mentioned the first 30 meters. Is it that early in a 400-meter race where you can gauge of how you're doing, how you're gonna do? Would you say?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes like if it's. Sometimes you drive out and you're like, legs are just gone. There's not much you can do here. It's not going to be the same as when you run and you're floating around the track. It's just like it's going to be hard work and running hard. For me, I'm not a 43-second runner, so I'm only going to ever run like 45 mid to low at best if I'm not feeling it. So yeah, it's a horrible feeling, and I've done races where I've got to 200 meters and like I'm tired here. I'm really tired. I've got 200 meters to go. How am I going to get through this? You just got to suck it up and try and get around. But it happens. It happens in all sports, I think, not just athletics.
Yeah, and obviously, in football, we kind of run off injuries. Has there ever been a time you've ran with just a little, not that little niggle? Ever been a time you've had to run?
Yeah, definitely. Like 2012 Olympics, the hip injury was. If it hadn't been a home Olympics, I'd have just sacked off, and had the surgery, and it was like a 3-month surgery. It wasn't a quick turnaround; it was a long one. So you'd have accepted that you're not going to go to the World Champs or Olympics and just go on with it. So it happens a lot. I think athletics is one of those sports where. I think in football, like team sports, you can sometimes get you can mask an injury. If you have a small problem, you can kind of get, as long as you do the simple things well, you can kind of get carried by your teammates. Whereas I think in athletics, you get found out straight away. So it's kind of the downside of the sport.
Anything you regret in your athletics career, or would you say?
Yeah, loads of things. Like there's loads of mistakes I've made. Like just not listening to my body enough, or not. I was naive to a lot of things in the sport, and not sourced or researched things enough. Like I think in 2009, if I'd have done a bit more research, I'd have been able to come back a lot quicker. But I trusted the wrong people. Not trusted the wrong people, but. I put my faith on my recovery and people who didn't actually want me to run that year. They were kind of like, "Nah, look, take the season off." And I wish I'd have just gone to people who were more proactive. So it's lots of mistakes, but like you learn and live, and you live from those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and try to. My job now is trying to make sure same people don't make the same mistakes as I did.
Yep. When I used to train for 100, sometimes we might just run a bit further. You might do a 120 or 130 in training. Is that something you did for 400?
Yeah. Horrible runs. We do like 2-minute runs and 3-minute runs and stuff, and we do like 600s on the track. And yeah, it's just part of what you do, isn't it? Like 450s is a base session. It's normal. So it's just I kind of get jealous when I see the 100 guys doing like 120s, 150s, and they're like, "Oh, this is hard." It's all right, man. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, man. So that 3 European golds, 2 European silvers, 2 world bronze, 1 Olympic bronze. I know I've missed some of your medals off, but but are you happy right now, or is it you've got more left? Or
I'd like to go to the Olympics. I think after Rio, like I need to kind of get back into a position to win a relay medal on the track that whilst you're there, rather than get one in the post later on. You know, it's like I think Rio we had a good chance of winning it with the disqualification in the semi-final in the heats for Matt. It was kind of like we didn't deserve that, and now that rule's been scrapped. So I feel like I'd like to go back and get one more Olympic medal.
Yes. Have you ever full started?
Yeah. I've done it. I did it in London once at the Grand Prix.
Oh man.
In 2016. 2016, the race had all been set up for Hudson Smith. I was in the lane outside him. I was a bit annoyed about that, but I took my place or whatever. I get into the blocks, and the start was just holding us there for ages, and there's loads of noise on the far side of the stadium. So I was like, oh, she's just going to call us up. But we're just there. You know, when you're set and you're holding, and they end up just started falling forward. There's nothing I could do about it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to fall. And I was like, I've just got to go now. And hopefully the gun goes. And it just didn't go. So I was going to protest it because I felt like she had held us for like a couple of seconds. And I was like, that's not normal. Normally that'd be a faulty start. And then, so I went in, I was kicking and screaming, punched the wall. And then I found out that they did 2 more false starts, but like no one got DQ'd. So I was the only one who got DQ'd for it. So I was annoyed about that. I went around a 300 on the warm-up track and ran a PB. So
yeah. The reason why I was asking about full starts because in 2011 Worlds in Daegu, when Bolt got disqualified in the 100-meter final, when I saw him kicking and screaming, I'm thinking the time that Blake ran like a 9:92. Everyone knows that Bolt would have won that comfortably. I was just about to ask, would that have been the same for you? Would you have seen their time and think, oh, I would have won that? Or...
Yeah, Matt didn't run that quick. He absolutely destroyed us at the Olympic trials. He ran incredibly well, and he was in great shape, and he made the Olympic final that year. But I think like I'd been to Europeans, and I felt like my season was just starting then, and I felt like, you know what, I can give him a race. I think he ran 45.0, and I was like, do you know what, I'm in like 44.8, 44.7 shape right now, and I'm just getting going again. So I kind of felt I was frustrated. But it's your own, like a sports, like you have to take responsibility for your mistakes you make, and it was my mistake. So
yep. So what is just in life, what would you say your biggest achievement is? That could be your kids, could be moving out, medals. What would you say is, if you had to pick one?
For me, family.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely. For me, I always wanted to have family. Always wanted kids, and I'm very fortunate to have a loving wife, 2 healthy kids, a boy and a girl, and I'm very fortunate. So that's my proudest thing, I think.
Fantastic, bro. That's a nice way to finish. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for chatting to me, Mark. Yeah,
it's a pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure,
bro. Yeah.
Thanks very much for your time.
All things athletics. Martyn Rooney. Peace.
Cheers, man.